and welcome to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet the daughter.
And as always, I'm Kevin the dad.
Yep.
And Jules, what did you pick for us this time around?
Well, bit of sad news hit the rock and roll world recently when we learned that guitar legend Eddie Van Halen passed away at, I think, the age of 65. And so when I saw that on the news, I was like, Dad, do you have any Van Halen? I want to do tribute. And he went, yes, but here's the thing. And when we saw how long the discography was, I thought, okay, midterms are coming up. I don't think I'm going to have enough time to listen to the whole thing. So we decided that if we're going to cover Van Halen, we're going to split it into two parts. The first part is to honor Eddie, and the next part is to, well, sort of talk about later. Now, Dad, can you explain?
Sure. Juliet picked the Van Halen compilation, Best of Both Worlds, which is 2 discs, and it spans both the David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar eras. But the set mixes the two of these eras together. Mm-hmm. So for this podcast, we're focusing on the David Lee Roth era songs and biography. We're going to do the Sammy Hagar era at some other point, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we just wanted to honor Eddie's memory in what some fans, I'm sure, would call the right way.
Yeah, we're trying to do this in a chronological order, and with the band bio that I'm about to read. Yeah, there's some stuff missing, but like I said, someday, when we get to the Sammy stuff, we'll fill in those holes as best we can.
Yep.
That's what she said. Okay, so brothers Alex and Eddie Van Halen were born in Amsterdam in the Netherlands.
That makes sense.
Alex in 1953, Eddie in 1955. They're of Dutch on the dad's side and Indonesian on the mom's side descent.
Oh, nice mixed race babies.
The family moved to Pasadena, California in 1962. They started playing music together in the 60s with Eddie on drums and Alex on guitar.
So
yes.
How old were the kids when they moved to the United States?
Let's see. Eddie was 7, Alex was 9.
Okay, but that's interesting that he was the one playing the drums.
Yeah. Huh. Now, while Eddie was out delivering newspapers to pay for his drum set, Alex would sneak over and play them. And eventually Eddie found out about it. And out of frustration, he told Alex, okay, you play drums and I'll go play your guitar.
Thank you to his brother for doing that. Otherwise, Who knows what might have happened.
Mm-hmm. So they formed their first band in 1964 called the Broken Combs. They got popular, played a lot of the backyard parties, and changed their name to the Trojan Rubber Company.
They're still around.
Well, yeah, in the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
In 1972, Alex and Eddie formed a band called Genesis with Eddie on guitar and lead vocals, Alex on drums, and Mark Stone on bass.
Imagine if there were 2 bands called Genesis. That would have been awkward.
We'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
Because, there is.
Okay.
They rented the sound system from one David Lee Roth, then decided they could save money by hiring him as the singer. In 1974, they replaced Mark Stone with Michael Anthony, who also provided background vocals, whom they had all known from their Pasadena City College days. They changed the band name to Mammoth after learning there was another band with the name Genesis. Mm-hmm. Then they had to change it to Van Halen after learning there was another band already named Mammoth.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they any good?
Never heard of them.
Okay.
So I really can't tell you. I'm imagining with a name like that, they're probably either a prog rock or a heavy metal band.
I'm going to lean toward metal.
Dave says naming Van Halen was his idea.
Really? Why?
Because he said it sounded something strong. It was almost like, you got Santana, you got Van Halen. It just had a strength to it.
Well, I thought they wanted to go that route because with Santana, you have the legendary guitar player, but he doesn't sing. So they were like, hey, Eddie doesn't sing, but I do. Why don't we name it after him?
That could be. But the thing with Santana was there was always like a revolving lineup.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. They played clubs in Pasadena and Hollywood and soon built a major following. They got their big break when they played Sunset Strip Club, Gazzari's, and became regulars on the LA music scene. In the summer of 1976, LA DJ Rodney Bingenheimer took Gene Simmons to Gazzari's to see them play. Gene produced their demo and wanted to pilfer Eddie to play in Kiss.
Uh-oh.
Ace must not have been happy about that.
No, I'm sure he was not.
Plus, I can't imagine Eddie in the kabuki makeup.
I've seen his face. I don't think that would have been a good look on him.
Obviously, this never happened, though. And Simmons then opted out of further involvement after he took the demo to Kiss management and was told they had no chance of making it and that they wouldn't take them. So in mid-1977, Mo Austin and Ted Templeman of Warner Brothers saw Van Halen play at the Starwood Club. A week later, they signed them. Templeman produced their debut album as well as their next 5 albums. Van Halen was released on February 10th, 1978. It peaked at number 19 on the Billboard album chart.
It's not bad.
In 1996, it was certified diamond, 10 million copies sold.
Nice.
It's considered one of the greatest heavy metal debut albums ever. So they toured for a year, opening for Black Sabbath, and they established a reputation for their performances, especially the chemistry between guitar hero Eddie and frontman extraordinaire Dave.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things the band became known for on tour was their contract writer that requested in the technical writer that a bowl of M&Ms be provided in their dressing room with the brown ones removed.
There's a reason for that.
I'm about to get to that.
Yep.
Failure to do so would not only mean that the band would not perform, but the venue would still have to pay the full fee. Now, the objective of this was not due to any excesses on the part of the band, but was a method to determine how much attention to detail the crew at a local venue paid to the request specified in the rider. Should the bowl be absent, or if brown M&Ms were present, it would give the band members reason to suspect that other legitimate technical and safety issues were also being performed poorly or were outright overlooked.
Yep.
Now, David Lee Roth stated in his autobiography that this request was made as a result of faulty workmanship at a venue on an earlier tour, which nearly cost the life of a member of Van Halen's road crew. He added that at Colorado State University, Pueblo, where he found brown M&Ms, the management's failure to read weight requirements in the rider resulted in the band's equipment sinking through the floor and causing $80,000 of damage.
Oh, God. Who paid for that?
I imagine that the university would have been liable for that because
Yeah.
they didn't honor the contract.
Eesh.
Yeah. Now, Van Halen 2 came out in 1979, Women and Children First in 1980, Fair Warning in 1981. Now, the recording of Fair Warning was a little tense as Eddie wanted to be more serious, while Dave was tending to be more like, hey,
Dave being
good
Dave.
timey. Yeah, Dave being Dave. Now, 1984 was released in 1984 and was huge.
Nice.
Now, much was made about keyboards on the album, but Eddie had been playing with them since Women and Children First. It was just that they were more prevalent this time around on this album.
Okay.
Now, the lead single, Jump, went to number 1, and the album itself went to number 2. It was stuck behind Michael Jackson's Thriller, on which Eddie played the guitar solo for Beat It.
Yeah, and that got him on the rock and roll charts.
Now, Dave put out a solo EP called Crazy from the Heat.
Oh, so good.
Eddie played the guitar riff in Back to the Future that Marty uses to wake George.
Yeah, and can I tell a quick story behind that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, when I went to Smarts and we watched this movie, we learned that they approached Eddie Van Halen and the whole band. It was like, listen, can we use your music in the movie? And they said, fine, but due to a couple of copyright issues, they couldn't call the band Van Halen in the movie. So that's why when you see Marty putting the tape in the cassette player to wake up his dad, it says Eddie Van Halen and not Van Halen.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, it says that the other band members didn't want to participate, which probably explains the whole cassette thing.
Yes.
So that time they were the biggest band in the world, the perfect time for things to fall apart.
Yay!
Roth decided to quit the group.
Why?
Now, group members have given different reasons for the split, but they were rooted in control of the band's sound, image, singles released, and scheduling. Another thing that drove Alex, Eddie, and Mike crazy was Dave's band on No Wives Backstage, because they were all married, but he was not. And I guess it kind of cramped his style. Now, to this day, Dave has never married or had kids. He has said, though, that he's had close relationships with 4 women throughout his life, but refuses to name them so that they can have their privacy.
Well, that's nice. Well, since it was... Okay, I don't know how much this was a thing at the time, but because he wasn't, married to anybody or settled down, was there rumors about his sexuality, or did that, not crop up around him? Because it just didn't. They didn't talk about that stuff back then.
Oh, he was in groupie heaven.
Okay.
Dave. Oh, yeah.
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 Oh, that must have sucked for Eddie, though, because it was like at that time he had married Valerie Bertinelli pretty young. And I saw in an interview where he was like, my dad was on tour all the time. I don't want that for my kids. I want to spend with as much of my time with my son as possible. So the fact that Dave did that probably really ground his gears.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Now, so Dave's out. So Eddie approaches Patti Smith of Scandal to replace Dave. She declined being 8 months pregnant, and she was more of a New York woman and didn't want to move to L.A.
And any woman would decline it. It's like, I'm going into labor in a month. Sorry.
Yeah, but she would have been great. She's got a terrific voice, and she's a badass.
Have I heard her sing anything before?
Well, like her big hits were with Scandal. Like her biggest one was The Warrior, and she's had a few solo hits here and there. I'm sure you can Google her and stuff will come up.
Okay.
Now, believe it or not, Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates was also asked.
That's okay.
Which I guess probably would have upset Oates. But he also passed because, at that time, Hall & Oates was like the biggest thing in the world. Duo-wise, anyway. Eventually, Sammy Hagar joined the group from 1986 to 1996. Now, I'm going to skip over a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Dave came back to record 2 songs for a best of in 1996. And in the late 90s, Dave trained as an EMT in New York City, going on over 200 ambulance rides.
Wow.
And he said it was a very humbling experience. And his fellow EMTers said that he was great to work with. He never played, hey, I'm Mr. Rockstar. He was very serious about, getting the job done.
Well, good for him. That's nice.
Now, there was a reunion tour in 2007, but with Eddie's son Wolfgang on bass instead of Michael Anthony.
Yep.
A Different Kind of Truth came out in 2012 with Dave on vocals, and the live album from the tour, Tokyo Dome Live in Concert, came out in 2015.
Yeah, I've seen that. When I was on Spotify listening to this album, they had a couple of bonus tracks from the Tokyo Dome tour, but I didn't listen to them.
And I read a lot of reviews on Amazon, and the biggest complaint was that Dave's voice just did not sound good.
Well,
but then some
older.
people love it, though. Yeah, some people say, hey, everyone got older, he's not going to sound the same.
And if you don't like it, listen to the original. No one's forcing you.
Now, in 2019, Dave said he thought Van Halen was finished. In May of 2020, Sammy said otherwise, claiming until Ed or Alex Van Halen die, they're not finished.
Oh, did he curse Eddie? Oh, no! He cursed it! He cursed it! That's why Eddie's dead! He cursed the whole thing! Oh, my God!
Well, let's see. June, July, August, September, October. 5 months later, Eddie Van Halen died on October 6th, 2020.
Your wedding anniversary.
From cancer, yes.
That had to suck. Happy anniversary! Eddie Van Halen's dead! Oh.
Now, as for me, 1984 was the first Van Halen record I bought. Now, back in my Almax days, a fellow service clerk named Bill Callier kept telling me, you gotta buy this album. You gotta buy this album. This is such a great album. You gotta buy it. You won't be sorry. You gotta buy this album. So I did.
And?
Then I spent my time playing catch up with all the earlier stuff. I want to get a best of at some point, but the 1996 best of volume 1 was just missing way too much stuff.
Oh, okay.
And the best of both worlds came out in 2004. It's got 3 new Sammy era songs at the beginning, which they're okay. And then they've got 3 live cuts at the end, which are all Dave songs that are sung by Sammy. And it's kind of like,
Why try to improve something that's already pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, they could have used that space for other songs. I would have picked Humans Being, which Sammy era Van Halen did for the Twister soundtrack. And then...
Oh, really?
Then 2 Dave covers, Ice Cream Man and Could This Be Magic. But that's just me. I'm sure everyone has their own opinions about what songs could have filled that space.
Oh, sure.
I'm surprised that this set is actually hard to find these days.
Why?
I have no idea. I did online research, and it's just available as an import, mostly as expensive used copies, which just boggles my mind. But I guess that's the thing about CDs. It's like, get them while they put them out, because nowadays you can get everything streamed, so that could be why no one really bothers with them. But I'm telling you, someday There's going to be the pulse. The whole interwebs is going to crash.
Mm.
But I still have my hard copies that I can play on my antiquated equipment.
Plus, also, if that album ever hits an anniversary, maybe there'll be a re-release.
Well, plus I think another thing that possibly might happen with Eddie's passing is, hey, great time to put together some sort of box set with unreleased stuff, or, another best of yet again.
That's one thing.
Who knows?
That's one thing that always happens with when musicians die, and I've said it before in previous episodes, but I forget which ones. I think we talked about it in the Prince episode, but it's whenever a celebrity dies, you always have people who have never heard of them before, and you're wondering, oh, why are they a big deal? I'm going to go check them out. And then they listen to it, and then they become fans, and all of a sudden, their music surges in popularity again. And again, as I said, there was an episode of Lucifer where they were investigating this pop star's death, and it turned out she was murdered by her manager because she wasn't selling so hot, and he knew her death would mean, hey, more money for me!
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet in the music business.
Not that we know of.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have put that out there in the universe. But anyway.
Well, Lucifer already did, and as far as we know, nothing's happened.
Yeah, no.
Yet.
Yet.
Okay, so let's dive into the song, shall we?
All right, first song, Eruption. Now, so while I was listening to this, I realized I had heard some of Van Halen's songs before, but I can't really remember when or how. But when I listened to this track, I wrote, having never heard Van Halen before, that opening track is one hell of an introduction. And now I understand why people are so wrecked about Eddie being gone, because we're never going to hear that again. At some points, his solo doesn't even sound like he could be playing a guitar. You know what I mean? It seems more likely that you would hear these notes being played simultaneously on a piano, because when you hear that in your head, you're like, there's no way a mere 6-stringed electric guitar could sound like that, right? Nope, Eddie did, and I bow before him. And not like a bow that's from the waist. I am talking about almost lying flat on the floor, arms outstretched, the Emperor has arrived bow. What I want to know is, though, if they filtered the sound at all to make Eddie's guitar have a sound that can only be described as out of this world, because it doesn't sound like anything I've heard on this planet so far. And I'm going to say it now, although it might be premature. If you could only listen to one Van Halen song, pick this one and listen to the masterwork. I'm the firm belief that you could just listen to this one and you'd be like, okay, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing research, someone else said that they thought this was the greatest Van Halen song ever.
I can see why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you would think this would open up Van Halen's debut to announce a new gunslinger in town, but it's actually the second song after Running with the Devil. Now, Eruption introduced a technique called two-hand tapping to the mainstream popular rock audience. Mm-hmm. Like it had been out there. Like Steve Hackett from Genesis had done it back in 71, 72.
But Eddie popularized it?
Yeah. Mm. And now, from what I can figure out, it's playing the fretboard with both hands as opposed to strumming with one and fretting with the other. Peg out there in Colorado, I'm sure you can educate us on that. Anyway, it's still an amazing piece of work after all these decades. And like during the second half of the solo, it almost sounds like a harpsichord being played.
Yeah.
And I read that there's like almost like a classical music cantata being played with that. I'm not doing it like he does.
Brett and Eddie from Two Set Violin, can you confirm this? There's some classical musicians I watch on YouTube. They go into stuff like this all the time.
Well, yeah, because also when I was doing some research on the tapping, that goes back to like violin players from like the 1700s.
Oh yeah, like when sometimes when you see them plucking it with the strings to get a sound.
Yeah, I guess so.
Of the bow,
I guess so. But yeah, it's just there's a new guitar god in town, and he's here to stay.
Now I don't know if you
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but to me, even more amazing, in the 1980s, guitarist Steve Vai did a musical transcription of Eruption for Guitar Player magazine.
Oh, what's it look like? Is it like 16th notes all over the place, or what?
I don't know. I wasn't able to find the actual transcription that he did. Ooh. But Steve Vai is like this phenomenal guitarist, And how he started out was he did transcriptions of Frank Zappa solos.
Cool.
When he was 16 years old, sent them to Frank, and Frank hired him.
Awesome.
To transcribe all their music, and then hire them as a band member. And to me, that's just amazing that someone could listen to that and write it down.
Here's what I want to know: if he can transcribe Zappa, do you think he can? Do you think he can transcribe Beefheart? Because that guy's music is impossible.
I don't know. I think if he could transcribe Eruption, he could transcribe anything.
Okay. Now, here's what I want to know, because I was doing a little bit of research before the podcast. I found this piece on, I think it was CNN, where they were talking about the two-tapping technique. But they said that Eddie designed his guitar himself, and not only that, but he also decided to make and sell his own guitars, and got a lot of money from that.
Yeah.
And with that, I say, good for him, because I think he knew it's like, all right, my music may not keep making money, but if I make guitars for people to buy, then I'm going to get a lot of money from that.
Well, probably also everyone was probably looking at him going, guitar players, yeah, I want one of those.
And Eddie was like, okay, here you go then.
Yep, so he has his EVH guitar line.
Yeah. All right, next track. Ain't Talking About Love. A lot of apostrophes going on in that title there. Simple story. Girl wants to hook up with guy. Guy is kind of a jerk, but they hook up anyway. However, this guy is a bit more nuanced than the average rock and roll bad boy. As David sings, he's been through a lot and seen a lot of people die, so if they're going to have sex, she's going to earn it. And in one way, I could kind of respect his thinking. Like, life is too short for bad sex, so if I'm going to have any sex while I'm alive, I'm going to make sure it's only the good stuff. Yeah,
but you can't know until you jump in.
Well, yeah, but I think maybe in his mind he's like, all right, there's a certain type of woman I'm looking for, and it's always good to talk with the person beforehand and be like, okay, here's what I'm willing to do, here's what I'm not willing to do, that kind of thing. Uh-huh. But anyway, I don't feel too much sympathy for him because he says, you're semi-good looking. Like, she's supposed to take that as a compliment? Screw you, pal. To paraphrase Bambi, if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Because even a half-assed compliment like that's gonna sting. Like, geez, dude. Now you're not going to get anything. At least from me. I think a lot of other women would have been like, it's David Lee Roth, screw it.
Yep. Okay, so this is from the debut album, Van Halen. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like, you got to admire Dave's honesty about his love being rotten to the core. Yeah. He's just a bad news bear.
This is like the other end of the spectrum where the more jokey end is like this sound that's going around TikTok. Am I boring? Sure. Skills? None. But I will never leave you, and I will stay mostly because I need the food.
And that line, you're only semi-good looking. Wow.
Yeah.
He's just up front.
You better have some performance skills to come back from that, pal. Otherwise, no, you're getting out of here. Kicking you out of my house. Mm-mm.
You gotta have the skills to give Dave thrills, I guess. Okay.
No, to give me thrills after he made that compliment.
Okay.
I'm like, you have 5 seconds to make this up to me now.
Yeah. Now, see, I kind of looked at, like, that part about I've been to the edge, and there I stood and looked down. I lost a lot of friends there, baby. I got no time to mess around. I kind of looked at it as like, the man is a survivor. He's seen what's happened to those around him.
Yeah.
Whether it's been like, they've just been ODing, or they've just been like directionless through life and just
drinking.
ended up in these dead ends.
Yeah.
Just no matter, but he's just gonna make it. He's just gonna survive. And for like the music, it's just got this great muscular playing all around, and it's just like very in your face.
Yeah.
Definitely matches the mood of the lyrics.
But you can't entirely hate him though, because even though in this version of the song you're like, wow, what a jerk, part of you's like, it's Dave.
Well, I read somewhere years ago that someone had called them the world's coolest asshole.
Yes, I accept that. Very good. Very good.
And it's like, like a lot of the reading that I did, like some of his quotations, it's like some of them you roll your eyes, and some you think, wow, he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes he just has this. How can I put it? Like, he can be very respectful.
Yes, he can be.
Like he was talking about, they were doing this song on Diver Down called "Big Bad Bill is Sweet William Now," and he talks about how they got Eddie's dad to play, I believe it was clarinet,
because his dad's a musician.
Yeah, And, his dad's saying, I haven't played in 10 years. I'm going to make these mistakes.
Aww.
And, and Dave is calling Eddie's dad Mr. Van Halen. He's saying Mr. Van Halen was worried about messing up, and we had to tell him, don't worry, because we make mistakes all the time, and we actually leave them on the songs. Which, going back to Eruption, Eddie says he listens to it, over the years and thought...
And he kicks himself.
It's like, I could have played this so much better.
Oh, that every artist feels that, because it's like the final product, you're still kind of not satisfied with it. Like, I could have made it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it drives you nuts, but you have to learn to live with it, I'm sure. And going back to Dave being respectful, I mean, like what you said earlier, he's like, I've had 4 women who've meant very much to me, but I'm not going to say who they are to protect their identity. And I'm like... You know what? Good for you, because I don't think a lot of men in the rock and roll world would have been like that. They would have shouted from the top of the hills who those women were and probably ruined their lives in the process.
Yeah.
So good for him.
And when he was an EMT, he didn't want any publicity at all, because he thought it would just interfere with the job he was hired to do.
It's probably the asshole, but he's cool about it part. The asshole is probably just the onstage persona, because it's like, when you're on stage, you can, like, let loose and let it rip. But when you get off, it's like, all right, I'm an adult. I've got bills to pay. I've got to get food on the table. No time to screw around. But you can't have wives backstage for some reason because it makes me feel weird. Anyway.
Because I'm trying to score, man, and you're harshing you're harshing my mellow.
You're killing my vibe, man.
That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, next track. You really got me. And my first thought was, like the Kinks? And it was. Now, I'm going to say it. I believe that David Lee Roth has the Midas touch when it comes to covering songs because they turn to cold. Yes. Okay, I'm glad we're in agreement on this. And I don't know how you're going to react to this. Much like his cover of Just a Gigolo, I prefer Dave's version of this song to the original.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he makes this cover more of a seduction song with a bit of swagger. Like, he's already dating this girl, and he already knows they're probably going to do it by the end of the night. But he's still...
by the end of the song.
Or by the end of the song. But he still flatters her and sings her praises because he knows it'll make her feel good and get her more in the mood. And then what's unique about this cover is we get to see what happens after, which you probably couldn't have seen in the 60s, because Dave starts moaning at some point in the song, and it's him, like, going... Damn, woman, that was so good. And then to help us transition from point A to point B, we have Eddie on the guitar trying to capture the frenetic energy of running home, taking off the clothes, wham, bam, thank you very much, ma'am. So whoever suggested Van Halen cover this song, my hat's off to you, because I am so glad that this exists. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, yep, this is going on my playlist.
Well, they did do a lot of Kinks covers.
They did more than
back in the day when they were starting out. Yeah, they actually do a cover of Where Have All the Good Times Gone on Diver Down.
Did they ever meet them or any of them?
No, but I do remember Dave saying they tried to channel the spirit of Ray, but the closest that they got was Chrissie Hynde. Anyway,
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's close, because they were an item for quite a number of years.
True.
Okay, so you really got me. This is also from Van Halen, and this song came after Eruption, and radio stations would play one right after the other. So
I kind of like that.
Yeah, and it's a decent amped up cover, and you listen to what Eddie does with Dave Davies. I mean, he just makes it huge.
Well, also that, but there's also, when you listen to this cover, and especially with the other covers we're going to get to later, there's always a sense of respect that they have, because as I've always said, even when you're famous and on top of the world, no one is ever above being a fanboy. And I think, as Kinks fans, they wanted to, make it their own, but also at the same time play tribute to the band and not screw around with it too much.
Oh yeah, because Eddie definitely puts his own stamp on it when it comes to the solos, like you said, like.
And he also, did he kind of do that when he did Prince in concert and made everybody shut the hell up?
That was pretty much almost a note-for-note solo of what Prince did at the end of Let's Go Crazy.
Oh, he did that one?
Yeah.
I would have killed to have heard that, man.
Yeah.
That must have been cool.
Yeah.
And everyone in the audience was like, oh shit, we're a bunch of posers. Why did we question his greatness?
Well, I mean, that was the thing about Eddie. He was definitely open to all kinds of music.
Yeah, and honestly, musicians are better off for being open to more kinds of music. It kind of reminds me, I can't believe I'm going to make an Avatar in The Last Airbender connection, but there's this scene where Uncle Iroh is teaching Zuko these different bending techniques from the air, water, and earth tribes, because he's like, if you only learn one technique, eventually your craft is going to get stale over time. But if you pull from multiple sources and incorporate that into your learning, then you'll be much better in your performance. Mm-hmm. So I feel like Eddie being open to different kinds of music is a good thing, because he can keep creating and not stay in one mold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anything else to say about this cover? You really got me?
Nope.
Other than, oh my god, it's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. All right, next track. Hot for Teacher. So, first of all, I think this is a drummer, so I'm going to say shout out to the drummer for making the drums sound like a motorcycle starting up. That takes talent. Now, with this song, I can't really buy the idea that Dave is some sort of truant student who's got the hots for his teacher, because it's like Stockard Channing in Grease, too old to be a teenager, so I just don't buy it. So
yeah, but you gotta, you have to, how do I want to put it? You have to take into mind the audience that he's singing to. Their listeners are all going to be like mostly teenage boys.
Well, here's how I interpret it. For me, it's more believable that Dave is a guy dating a prim teacher. Well, maybe not so prim and bad as the song implies. And if that's the case, I think him calling her teacher might be the pet name he has for her when the two of them are alone. It reminds me of this Tumblr post where somebody posted that she and her boyfriend were trying to spice things up in the bedroom, so they did a student-teacher role play, and her boyfriend goes, "You're failing my class, you naughty girl." But then she broke down crying because she has a 3.9 GPA, and flunking is one of her worst fears, so they had to stop so he could calm her down. Now, as for the scenes where Dave is just shooting the shit with the guys, I think this is him waiting around with his friends before his girl is done with school for the day and he can take her home. Because not many people know this, but teachers frequently stay later than most people think just so they can get work done. Like, I remember I would see some teachers, like, after I was rehearsing for, like, the musical, they'd stay until, like, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon before they went home. So we have this song for the people dating teachers, and we have Don't Stand So Close to Me for people crushing on teachers. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is from 1984. Mm-hmm. What is that teacher going to teach? I mean, there have been a number of songs along this vein.
My guess is English. That's
I don't mean... No, not English. It's going to teach
the moves, yeah.
Teach the moves. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I disagree with your viewpoint in just because... Like, okay, Dave definitely sounds too old.
Well, I know that's what it's supposed to be, but I can't wrap my head around it. So the only way it works for me is if I picture him as, like, this bad boy who's dating a teacher.
Yeah.
That's how it works for me, because I just... his voice doesn't match up with, like, horny teenager.
Yeah, but that's who he's singing to.
I know, but...
That's the audience, and I'm sure there were some horny teenagers out there like, yeah, oh man, my English teacher, she's so hot. Oh man, I wonder what would happen if... Oh, yeah. That
goes for girls, too.
Okay. I'm sure it does. Mm-hmm. Except it's like... Well, I don't know. Mm. Anyway, yeah. So the unique thing about this song is it starts off with a 30-second drum solo with Alex killing it on double bass drum.
Yeah, because I was like... At first I thought it was an effect, and then I was like... Oh, shit, that's a drum!
Well, he's got the two... I mean, he's got his 2 feet going, but he's also doing... Mm-hmm. Making that other noise, which to this day, I just cannot figure out how the hell he's doing it.
To quote Data, this is a lot of variables to coordinate at once.
And he's doing it. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you get another 30 seconds of instrumentation before Dave kicks in with his hilarious asides. I mean, they just crack me up every time. Like, hey, what do you think the teacher's going to look like this year? And, hey, I bought my pencil. Give me something to write on. Like, yeah, how'd you like to stick that pencil in the sharpener, Dave? That'll learn you.
Ow.
Yeah. And then that hilarious, I think of all the education that I've missed, but then my homework was never quite like this. And the video, for me, have you seen the video?
No, what happens?
The video to me is hilarious.
Okay.
Like, well, basically it's kind of like the school bus pulls up, mm-hmm. the door opens.
And it's Dave.
And it's Dave as the bus driver. And there's this nerdy little kid at the bus stop, and he's like so nervous, and he's got like the glasses, and he's shaking, and Dave gives it the old, sit down, Waldo. And Waldo gets on the bus, and he's just like this nervous kid.
Oh, poor baby.
And then the kids are in school, and then you've got junior versions of Alex, Eddie, Dave, and Mike in class.
Oh
and
my God.
And God help me, the teachers stripped down to bikinis, and they're dancing all over the places. And the kids are going nuts.
How old were the kids that they hired to the point they could get away with this? Tell me at least they were 14, or tell me they were at least teenagers and not 6.
No, they definitely weren't 6.
Oh,
they were
thank
definitely
God.
they were definitely in the junior high to high school.
Okay,
range.
thank God. Cause
when the male hormones are awakening, and you begin growing hair in places that you never imagined you would.
And you get visited by the hormone monster, who I'm going to talk about later with a certain song.
Okay. But to me, the funniest thing is the Where Are They Now segment at the end, where Alex went on to be a gynecologist, Mike went on to be a sumo wrestler, Eddie is in a psychiatric hospital recovering.
Oh no!
And Dave went on to be, what else? A game show host.
I could see him doing that, oddly enough.
And Waldo,
it's
assumed he might have gone on to be a pimp.
Oh, okay. Wow, did not see that coming.
But yeah, I just love this song. To me, it's just fall down funny. And that's the thing about Dave is he just writes stuff where he doesn't take himself seriously.
Oh no, I don't think he ever has he?
No. And I mean, he's been criticized about, oh man, you just write about women and partying, and I don't know, which he does. But if you listen closely to his lyrics, he's always kind of putting a spin on those topics, and we're gonna get to something a little later about that.
But also, that's 85% of what rock and roll is.
This is true.
Yeah. All right, next song. And the Cradle Will Rock. Hey, Dad, have you seen Junior's grades?
Best line in the song.
I love it. All right, so first, damn those rock and roll hooligans. So I think the 80s, because I wasn't alive back then, but I'm just going to make a generalization. I think the 80s is when you saw parents starting to get scared of music again. And then when MTV came along, you had so many parents clutching their Pearl/Bible/shotguns. And this is just Van Halen saying, hey, the new generation loves it, and we are here to stay for them. Thanks, guys. But this song also makes a good point. While the parents are saying rock and roll is bad, Van Halen points out, aren't you the ones rejecting your kids so that they wind up on the street unemployed? Which I'm sure made the parents go, well, we wouldn't have done that if they weren't listening to your record. Since, they just don't get the point. I also think this foreshadows the fight that was coming in Prince v. Gore, which is what I'm calling Tipper Gore's feud with the rock and roll industry from now on. But hey, if the worst sin is a person commits on this earth is listening to Van Halen, then hey, their life is pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Women and Children First. Kids these days, I tell you.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that based on this song, Van Halen, or the members of Van Halen didn't testify before Congress.
Yeah, the only ones who really did were
Dee Snider,
Frank Zappa, and, of all people, John Denver.
That is a weird combination.
Yeah, and, at that time you had these huge stars who really could have made a difference, but for whatever reason, they just didn't get out there.
I'm willing to bet their record companies threatened some sort of repercussions if they went and spoke out or something. I don't know.
I guess. What sounds like a guitar at the start is actually an electric piano.
Oh, okay.
And as the kid seems to be going downhill, there's Dave saying, to rock on. Mm-hmm. But is he being sarcastic about that, though?
I think he's being genuine.
Or is it as you kids say these days, you do you no matter what?
Yeah, I
no
think
matter
you
what
do
the
you.
outcome, no matter what the outcome's going to be. And yeah, the best line is, have you seen Junior's grades? Now, when they started doing this
on tour
during the first reunion concerts in 2007, 2008, Dave would say, have you seen Wolfie's grades?
Oh, no, poor Wolfie.
Because he was playing bass on tour.
Oh,
and
that must have sucked.
I'm not 100% sure at the time. I don't know if he was still going through high school. Please excuse Wolfgang for being absent. He's on tour with his dad. Signed, Wolfgang's dad.
Here's what I want to know, because it's if you're going on tour with your dad, I'm thinking how the hell did he keep up with his homework and stuff?
Maybe a tutor on the road.
Probably. Can I tell one funny story about Wolfie that I know?
Sure, go ahead.
So I read Valerie Bertinelli's book, and she said that, well, at the time she was writing it, Wolfie was a teenager in high school, and he was starting to, date and starting to, explore stuff as all teenagers do at that age. And so Valerie was getting really worried because, she didn't want Wolfie to get, like, a random girl pregnant. And, considering who his father was, she didn't want that to end up in the news.
Yeah.
And so she was trying to talk to Wolfie, but it wasn't really working because he was, like, embarrassed about it. So one day he was playing with his dad on tour, and Valerie and Eddie were divorced at the time. But she said to Eddie, she's like, Eddie, I want to have this talk with him, but he's not ready for me to do it. Can you do it? Because I think it'll mean more coming from his dad. And he was like, okay, I got this. So he pulls Wolfie aside, and Valerie was like listening at the door to make sure, it went okay. Because, yeah. And so he was like, be safe, wear a condom, don't be dumb. And Valerie was like, okay. And then Eddie goes, and also don't sleep with some girl who's only into you because of your last name. And I was like, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Because considering of his same as dad, he probably had to watch out for that all his life.
Yeah.
So, just goes to show there's a lot of things you got to be careful of when your dad is a rock god.
Oh yeah.
Other than staying on top of your grades. Yep. Anyway.
And you brought up something I never thought of. I guess in the cradle will rock no matter what generation. The cradle is always going to rock.
Of
like
course.
You said, like how parents were in the 80s were upset about, what are my kids listening to?
What are my kids watching?
Their parents were upset about, oh my God, they're listening to that Elvis and Chuck Berry, and they're watching.
That's what I was thinking.
And they're watching that American Bandstand. Oh my God, we're going to hell in a handcart.
Yeah. Oh, shocking. Look at the way he moves. No decent man does that. But it's like, the younger generation is always going to pick up on it because, because the primary reason is it's just different and it'll make the parents mad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, ooh, it's forbidden, then of course I'm going to listen to this. And again, when MTV came out, like, what did you tell me? They aired the really dirty stuff at like 1 o'clock in the morning when everybody was asleep. Mm. So you probably had some kids. Like, I heard the story of like this one woman saying, yeah, whenever like Prince did his music videos that were only on at 1 o'clock at night, I would sneak down and turn the TV on really low so my parents wouldn't wake up. But it was like, that was the only time you could watch it, and I really wanted to.
Well, I'll tell you, back in the 80s, there was a Boston station called V66 that was like a local version of MTV. Mm-hmm. They had local disc jockeys hosting like so many hours or whatever, and I will never forget this. Saturday afternoon, by myself.
Oh no!
Everyone else is out. I turn it on and see what's going on, and they played a Prince video. I want to say it was for the song Automatic, and I'm sitting there with my jaw just like hitting the floor, like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. In the middle of the day.
Not everyone's from Boston, John.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to say, and then Nana came home and caught me.
No,
you would have been dead.
No, nothing like that.
Oh,
like,
man.
Oh, this is, wow. Okay, this is, wow, I feel like I should be wearing some sort of protection watching this.
Now, before we move on to the next one, did Van Halen ever do any music videos that were quote-unquote controversial? Or was it like their songs that were like...
There was some that were not like outright banned, but censored. Like the one for Hot for Teacher was censored in a way because there's one where they're doing this dance move. They're all dressed in these red suits, and they've all got their hands on their packages, and they're doing this move. I guess... There were some stations that would put a black box over that area.
Oh, come on. Everyone knows what they're going to do.
You kind of knew something was going on. And the black box probably made it that much
more obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you try to censor it, everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, next track. Jump. And jiving, then you really gotta... Oh, wait, wrong song. Anyway.
What?
Jump and jiving, then you really gotta...
Well, that one's Jump, Jive, and Wail.
Yeah. Anyway, the opening of this song sounds the most 80s so far. The vibe I got from this song is this is Van Halen's version of pop or 80s music. And it's not bad, it's just different from the set lists we've listened to up until this point. I think this is Dave's version of giving a motivating pep talk or giving life advice, but he's doing so in the format that he knows best. And the message? Listen, I've seen stuff and I've been through stuff, so I know what you're going through too. But honestly, the best thing to do is jump and take a chance. which I feel like I already know, but I like it when rock and roll musicians do make songs like this where they're delivering a message, because, hey, there might be some people in the audience who haven't heard that message before listening to this music, and they're motivated to make a change in their life. And once again, shout out to Eddie, because at some points in his solo, when you think the dude has nothing left in the tank and he's going to wrap it up, he's able to shred some more notes, much to our delight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the first single from 1984, and it went to number one. Mm-hmm. Now, Eddie came up with the synth line back in 1981, but the other members weren't interested, and in 1983, Ted Templeman told Dave to listen to it again. Mm-hmm. Now, Dave was in the back of his 51 Mercury being driven by roadie Larry Hostler, and he listened to it over and over and over, and came up with the lyric from seeing a television news report the night before about a man who was threatening to commit suicide by jumping off a building. Now, Dave thought that one of the onlookers of such a scene would probably shout, "Go ahead and jump."
Oh, like the ASDF movie, "I'm gonna jump! No, wait!" Takes out the video camera. "Okay, now jump!"
Now, allegedly, the words were changed to an invitation of love, and Dave says that that the roadie Larry was really responsible for how the song came out. But I don't know about that invitation of love thing. I mean, I can see that sort of where Dave sings about, can't you see me standing at the record machine? Maybe it's a come on to some woman to say, hey, jump, take a chance. But he could be singing about himself like he's just going to stand there, but he should probably be getting out on the floor, taking a chance to do something. I mean, anything. It's like we all need that kick in the pants sometimes where, just don't overthink it.
Oh, sure.
Just get out there and do it. And, yeah, the thing is, like, when Jump came out, a lot of the hardcore fans were just surprised of, like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And a lot of fans who were just never really heard Van Halen before were just really surprised, like, this is what they sound like? This really wasn't what I expected.
What I had in mind. I wonder if... no, not I wonder. Well, a lot of people probably had the same thing when, like, The Clash came out with London Calling, when they, quote-unquote, stopped being punk. And then the rest of the album was kind of different, except from, like, the opening track.
Yeah, because, like you said, with Eddie, it's like you listen to different types of music and you're definitely going to expand your repertoire.
Yeah.
Which he definitely does here. I mean, like I said, he was fiddling around with synthesizers before and put them on songs, but this was just so much more predominant.
But what I like about Eddie is he didn't seem apologetic about it. Like, he doesn't seem apologetic about much, but not about this,
Yeah. Now, according to Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates, Eddie had told him that he copied the synth from the Hall & Oates song "Kiss on My List" and used it on Jump.
Were they
and
okay
Daryl
with
Hall
that?
said, "I don't have a problem with that at all."
Okay. Well, that's cool of him to
so
do.
there are some musicians out there. It's like, yeah, you copy my stuff, doesn't bother me.
Well, I think another good gesture is that Eddie let him know about that. You know what I mean? Because some people, don't tell people, hey, I borrowed this part from your song, just want to let you know. So the fact that he did is kind of cool, kind of chill.
Yeah, which we will get into another situation like that in a later song.
Ooh, okay. All right, next track. "Oh, Pretty Woman." Now, I had when I saw that they covered this song, I think I had a thought that a lot of people thought at the time, which is, ooh, they might have shot themselves in the foot with this one, because covering Roy is pretty tough to do, and it's a tough act to follow. And I have to say, I think they made a good version. Not better than the original, obviously, because, come on, the only way it could be better is kind of can't. Unless Roy did something so extraordinary with the song years later that everyone were like, whoa, he blew it out of the water. But you can tell that Van Halen meant this as a tribute, with the only significant change being lowering the key. Which makes sense because David probably does not have Roy's operatic range. But it was very good. They kept it simple, and they gave Dave one mercy, which I loved, and one of his own rrr, but I can't do it the way Dave did it, because it's different from Roy's, but it's very good. But also, those two things, they weren't cheap Roy imitations. He made them his own, and they do make you laugh, but in a good way because it's so fun. And I think the one thing they did really well is the build-up to the a cappella section with the, wait, could it be, is she walking back to me? Because when the instruments stop, you hear how good a singer Dave is in the rock and roll world. I mean, of course he sounds different than someone who's had voice training, but he knows how to use his instrument for this format, and he doesn't sound like he's in pain at all across this album. overall, good cover, and you can tell they had fun making this, but also they couldn't screw it up, so but also they knew they couldn't screw this one up, so they took it seriously.
Now, this is from Diver Down, which actually was kind of a little cover heavy. They did 5 covers on that album.
Wow, that's a lot.
It kind of is, but you know what? They're all really good. I always wondered what Roy thought of this.
Yeah, did you find anything?
No, I didn't.
it.
I didn't dig that deep, but I'm sure there's something out there somewhere.
I think he'd be nice about it.
Dave nails the growl,
Yes.
and he definitely makes the Mercy his own. And it's funny that you mentioned Dave singing, because I was talking to Greg in Produce, and
Oh, is he a Van Halen fan?
he's huge, massive Van Halen fan.
Nice.
And plus he plays their stuff. He's got everything that they've done.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually made a copy for me of their demo album called Zero, the one that Gene produced. It's not officially released, but it's out there somewhere. And he said something that I thought was really interesting. He said that, like, when, he's had guys, he wants to do Van Halen covers, and, he'll ask, can you sing, whatever song they're going to do? And guys' reactions have been, oh, yeah, that's a Dave song. I can sing that no problem, because Dave really doesn't sing. He doesn't know how to sing. And Greg sings, oh, yeah? You try and sing that song.
Yeah.
And he said a lot of guys struggle with it. And that's the only way that they realize, yeah, Dave knows what he's doing with his voice, and he can sing.
And also, it's like some of the choices that Dave makes with his song, when he sings, are so unique to him. Like, especially in the songs where he's having fun and doing these catchy asides. It's really hard to replicate that, because he makes it his own. And if you try to sing it in that exact way, it might be difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when he does his ows and yows. I mean, those are very high.
Yes.
Would you him do that?
Yes.
I mean, I'd break my voice trying to do that.
Women would too. I think they would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, again, different stuff is required for rock and roll as opposed to what I do with, like, musical theater singing. It's a totally different ball game that, I think a lot of singers would hurt themselves trying to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he definitely has a unique voice. I mean, two words into whatever he's singing, you know who it is.
Yes. All right, next track. Beautiful Girls. So, I had to stop myself for a minute with this one. Because my theater nerd brain over here was thinking of Beautiful Girls from Singing in the Rain. And I had to remind myself, nope. There's no way Van Halen would ever do a cover of this song, not unless they're like secret musical fans. But even then, I don't think they would ever put this on an album in a million years. No way.
Is that the one from the movie where it's like we've got one for December and what have you?
When they're all dressed in the different outfits for the year.
Yeah.
Because that's just the first thing my mind thinks of, but I'm kind of glad they didn't do that, because that just would have been bad. Anyway, if I had to describe this song, I think I'd describe it as Van Halen's beach song. Since he's at the seaside sitting out in the sun when he spots this girl. And as Dave says, his wants are pretty simple. He just needs a beautiful girl. Sorry, I had to flip the page. Maybe not one to settle down with, but just a piece of arm candy to make out with and pat on the butt. And the wonderful thing about Dave is he's awfully cocksure, but you can tell he's acting this way with a cheeky smile on his face, and it's all good, clean fun. Like, AC/DC said with all their songs, no, it's all good, clean fun. We don't actually think this way. Even when he doesn't get the girl in the song, he doesn't seem too sad, because just flirting with one is enough. Just seeing one is enough. So maybe for Dave, as long as he just gets to see a beautiful girl once in a while, he feels, yeah, life is pretty great. The only thing I want to know is, where was she sitting when he asked her to sit down? But since this is rock and roll, it's not that hard to hazard a guess. And also, one quick thing to mention before we wrap up the track, Van Halen has some great vocal harmonies going on in all their songs.
Oh, yeah, that's mostly Michael Anthony. I mean...
Thank you, Michael Anthony.
He's a great background singer. Just great. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Okay, so this is from Van Halen, too. And to me, I looked up the lyrics, and I'm reading them, and I'm listening to Dave singing them, and I thought, these are pretty close to rap. I mean, the way he's putting the words together, it just has a nice flow to them. Plus, to me, I think he provides us with one of the greatest moments in rock at the end of Beautiful Girls. He's like, Mr. Stud gets shot down. Hey,
yes,
what's your name?
Yes.
Hey, where you going? Where you going?
Yeah.
But
he's not that mad about it.
No. He laughs at himself and shrugs it off. He's like, I love him. I need him. Can't live without him. No. I just hurt my voice.
See, exactly like we were talking about earlier.
And to me, it's like, how many hard rockin' frontmen are confident enough to pull off something like that? Where it's just like you said, it's like it really doesn't bother him because it's just enough for him to see the beautiful girls on the beach.
Yeah, and then he also has the attitude of, maybe next time.
Yeah,
and
it's like if something
doesn't
happens,
bother me.
fine. If nothing happens, it's not going to bother him at all.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, like you said, great beach song. And, like, did you look up the lyrics?
Yeah, I did, but I don't remember them off the top of my head.
Well,
Why?
I mean, not off the top of your head, but if you get a chance to look at them again, just look at the way the words flow.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that he strings them together. It's just great. Like I said, to me, it's the closest that he's ever gotten to rap.
Okay, all right, next song, Unchained. This song is basically Dave saying to his ex-partner, here's what I think of you, before blowing a raspberry or flipping the bird or maybe both. Knowing Dave, probably both. And now that Dave is free of whoever was getting him in a bind, he is free, and boy does he hit the ground running. He's not sorry for the way he's been acting either, because as he says, he doesn't need to ask for permission. And as always, Eddie shines on the guitar. The chords he shreds just accent Dave's flaunting his newfound freedom in his ex's face. And all I can say to Dave is, right on, man, right on!
Yep. This is from Fair Warning. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, it's like someone who Dave was after, but she wasn't interested in until he got a Fat City address. Mm-hmm. Which, do you know what Fat City is?
No.
Fat City means, like, you are just rolling in it, things are really good for you.
Rolling in money. Okay.
Rolling in money, everything's just great, and now she's interested. But he's like, hey, I'm unchained, I'm going to hit the ground running.
It's like, well, look at the cat dragged in. Look who's back.
Yep, sorry.
Bye-bye.
No day for you. Mm-hmm. But then there's that other part where it's like, hey, take a look at this. Hey, man, that suit is you. Mm-hmm. You'll get some leg tonight for sure. Tell us how you do. And then Ted Templeton comes in. Come on, Dave. Give me a break. And Dave's like, hey, one break coming up.
And you can see all the members of Van Halen after the background like,
yeah, I mean, to me, it makes that song worth it.
Yeah.
And it's almost kind of like, it almost like flips the viewpoint where we think, okay, first it's all about Dave, but then Dave's looking at this other guy who, he's unchained himself, but he's like, hey, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna do it. No, come on, give me a break. Just.
Yeah. Back to recording.
That's you, Dave. That's not me.
Yeah. You record the songs. I get you the money. Let's have some boundaries. All right. Next song. Panama. 40 miles on the Panama Canal. Oh, wait. Wrong song.
Not the Animaniacs.
No, but that was a good song. Anyway, as for this one, make way for the badass. And when Dave sees her walking down the street, he tells his friends who probably have their mouths hanging open, yep, she's mine, and you boys couldn't handle her anyway. I think my favorite moment of the song is when Dave has those few sentences of spoken dialogue about how hot he's getting, because I can see, in my head, I'm picturing how it would be in a music video, and if there is one, tell me how close I am to this, because if I was directing this, it probably involves him being pinned against the wall in an alley, and they're like getting ready to make out and kind of teasing each other. Okay, I'm wrong. But that's how I would do it. I'll leave it at that. Also, with this song, I think this is the first time Eddie intentionally tones it down, like he has his this guitar solo symbolizes sex moment, but then the playing gets softer and mellows out, kind of like the moment after where it's like you can see them collapsing in bed because they just can't move. So he knows when to play full out and when it's best to keep it on the down low.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is the third single from 1984, and it went to number 13. Mm-hmm. Now, Dave wrote this after being accused by a critic of writing only songs about women, partying, and fast cars. Mm-hmm. And then Dave realized, hey, wait a minute. I never wrote a car song. So Panama was based on a car that Dave saw in a Las Vegas race called the Panama Express. Huh. And, he's got that spoken part again about, reach between my legs.
Yeah.
Ease the seat back.
Yeah.
Because he's just driving along. But some of it also seems like, he might be driving something else.
Yeah, I thought of this as a seduction song, not as a song about a car.
And for all you listeners out there, there is a Rhode Island connection.
Hit me with it, Dad.
I'm going to hit you with it.
All right.
For the video, all the concert footage was shot at the Providence Civic Center during a sound check and the actual concert itself.
Cool. Okay.
That's it.
What year was that?
I would say probably maybe
80-something?
84 or 8. I'm assuming 84 or probably early 85. Probably probably later in '84 because the album came out the beginning of 1984. Most of it is in concert, but then there's some other footage of like Dave getting arrested by the police, being hauled out of a dressing room in just a towel.
Wait, did that actually happen, or was that just for the video?
I think it was just for the video.
God,
And you're trying to
okay.
figure out, okay, something's going on here, but what? But most of it's just like concert footage and some on stage goofing around, like they
Didn't they have Eddie flying in at one point on like a zip line or something?
and then they had Dave, and then one of them's upside down, and then there's this one part that just cracks me up where Dave's doing that thing about, hanging between my legs, easing the seat back, and Eddie's behind him playing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Mike Anthony jumps out onto this riser, and it's hilarious because it's like, wait a minute, where the hell did he come from?
Where'd you come from?
Because it's almost like he just lands. It's not an actual, like, I'm leaping out. He just lands, and it's just hysterical, just the way he's like, and he's just playing his bass, and it's just great. It's just this great moment.
Okay. Now,
But I've just always loved this song, and like I said, part of me always thought over the years, it's about a woman, it's about the car, it's about both. Hey, why not? It could be about both.
now here's what I want to know. Have you ever seen Van Halen or just David Lee Roth in concert?
I have seen both. I saw. Wait a minute.
Oh, are we saving this for later, or are we talking about this now?
Well, I was just gonna say for Van Halen, it was the Sammy edition, and then right after that, I believe it was Uncle Joey and we saw Dave solo. Did a lot of Van Halen stuff. Guy's just a natural born showman, and he's also said like when he moves on stage, he's using his whole body.
Yes.
Because his thing is like he's trying to communicate with the people who are like
Way in the back.
way back.
Yep.
And they said they can't see what his eyebrows are doing, so he uses his arms and legs, all that motion to express what he's doing.
Good for
so
him.
he's definitely the showman.
Also, what was it like to see Eddie play live?
It was great.
Nice.
I mean, the guy, you just,
Whoa.
yeah, like you can't believe the stuff that he's doing. Like when I saw them, he, Alex, and Mike, they each got their own chances to solo,
Oh, nice.
and they were all great.
Cool. All right, next song. Jamie's crying.
She is.
So the most I can get from this song story is this. Guy falls in love at first sight. Girl knows this, but she's not feeling it. Guy is all depressed that this doesn't work out, and girl feels bad.
I kind of got the opposite of that.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, but this song kind of gives me like, if these people were like a couple, it would kind of be like Hercules and Megara from Disney's Hercules. And the reason I thought that was because of the one lyric, she knows what love is, like she has an idea. And it made me think of that thing where like Meg was like, oh, all men are bad and nobody can hurt you if you stay alone, blah, blah, blah. Like how she closed herself off to Hercules and knew she'd hurt him if he got too involved with her, but Hercules still loved her and wasn't shy about expressing his feelings for her. So it's kind of like that in this song where this guy's like, I love you, and this woman's like, you might not want to. I think the best part of the song is the chorus, and yeah, it's really all I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is from Van Halen, and I've always looked at this as different. Like, your viewpoint is very interesting, but I have the opposite, where, like, poor Jamie, she's in it for love, but not the one-night stand.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like, she knows what love is for. It should mean a little more than one-night stands. And that's why she writes the letter to make herself feel better. Give me a call sometime, but she knows what that'll get her. It's not going to get her a response, because he's all ready to go, and she's like, I don't want to. So they had to say goodnight, and that was that. And she kind of realizes, geez, I really like this guy, and I guess I blew it, but I don't want the one-night stand. I want something more. And so this is how old this song is, where she has to write a letter. These days, I guess she probably would text.
Yeah.
The drum pattern and the guitar was sampled for Tone Loc's Wild Thing, which was a massive rap hit.
Did they get paid?
As far as I know, Van Halen never sued.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, they probably was just, hey,
You do you.
don't care.
Yeah.
But which I'm surprised, because it's just so obvious, but it's a great song though. It really is.
All right, next track. I'll wait. Okay, this song is giving me two vibes. The first is the obsession of a lovesick fan, which I'm sure is something all the members of Van Halen experienced even while they were married, because some fans just don't care. Like, I don't know how fangirly fangirls in 80s rock and roll can get, but I'm pretty sure they got the crazy fan every now and then. The second vibe I'm getting from this song is yandere, which is a term from Japanese anime that means somebody who is sweet and kind at first glance, but when it comes to their love or crush, they will act obsessive and violent. The most yandere part of this song is when Dave sings, "I'll wait till your love comes down, I'm coming straight for your heart." Because yandere characters will sometimes murder those who stand in their way, or will sometimes kidnap the object of their affections if their advances aren't reciprocated so they can be together forever. And it seems like Dave's obsession is building and building, but whether or not his intentions turn murderous remains to be seen. It does sound like his emotions are torturing him, though.
Yeah. It's pretty hard for me to follow, but I'm going to make an attempt. Okay, this was the second single from 1984, and this also went number 13. Now, Dave was inspired by a model he saw in a Calvin Klein men's underwear ad. And I remember hearing something about, he actually called this woman to, get a date, but she did not believe that it was him. She thought it was some kind of...
Oh, some sort of prank?
Yeah,
I'm Eddie Van Halen. No, I'm David Lee Roth. Yeah, right. Goodbye, pal.
Yep. So it was him who was, after this woman who just, where am I? Okay, yeah. Now, stupefyingly, Doobie Brother Michael McDonald got a songwriting credit. When the band had trouble completing the song, Ted Templeman brought him in because Ted also produced the Doobie Brothers. And that's what he was more known for at the time before he produced Van Halen.
I bet nobody saw that crossover coming.
No. To me, this always had an ominous synth intro. Just the way it kind of...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then like the way the drums come in and Mike comes in, it's like doom, 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 doom. It's kind of not what you expect. And I like how Alex keeps the drumming simple, but he throws in these little offbeats here and there. I mean, they sound off time, but they're really not.
Yeah.
And he does that a lot throughout his playing, where you think you know what's going on, and he throws in these little things here and there, kind of to mix it up a little. And I've always liked that on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like, oh my God, this is throwing me off on my, trying to play along with Alex.
Killing my vibe, man.
But then it's like, okay, I just have to study harder.
All right, next track. Running with the Devil. Ooh, this song must have caused such a ruckus. The opening notes sound like the demon horde swarming you and dragging you down to hell.
Oh, that dun, dun.
Yep. I feel like this song could have two meanings. Sure, you could interpret this song as Dave literally selling his soul to the devil, and it would be a fun narrative, especially since as of recording this, it's the day after Halloween, so you could go that track if you wanted to. But I think this song is about the price of the rock and roll lifestyle.
Very good.
Van Halen was on top of the world. They could do whatever they wanted, but what was the cost? You get a sense that it may be that they've lost themselves or it's all too much, but the reason they paid the price was to escape from the semblance of a life they had back home. So this song teeters between a cry for help and, yeah, it sucks, but I regret nothing. Yeah.
Now that sound at the beginning,
Oh, it's the demon horde!
Those are car horns.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That got slowed down. They recorded them and then just slowed them down.
Did they have that, did they have that sound from, somewhere in the studio, or did they actually go out and, record a car horn?
Ted Templeman had them lean on their car horns.
Oh, okay.
And he recorded it and then slowed it down.
Just goes to show you can make music with anything.
Yeah. And then, the simple life ain't so simple.
Nope.
Not so sure about that. I mean, maybe it's hard work keeping it simple.
Yeah, I think so.
Because, there's too much temptation out there, and the next thing you know, you're, wait for it, running with the devil. I don't think they meant that literally. It was more
I don't think so either.
More like, how can I put it? Running wild, running amok.
Yeah.
And okay, this is their first album, which blew up big, and maybe Dave himself was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go out there and do everything that I possibly can, and we'll see how it turns out.
Do you think they ever regretted how famous they become? Do you think a lot of rock and roll musicians experience that? It was I just wanted to play my music. I never intended for it to go this far.
I think it depends how they handle it.
Yeah.
I don't think Van Halen's ever regretted it. I mean, they've always seemed to have a good head on their shoulders.
Well, but I mean, Eddie was in and out of rehab for so long. Like, do you think part of him was like, maybe if this hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have hit the I don't know what it was he got addicted to. I don't know if he was an alcoholic or if he was using drugs. But do you think part of him was like, maybe if I hadn't this life, I wouldn't have been in and out of rehab like I was?
I really don't know.
Because he seems like, I saw some interviews with him later in his life, and he seems pretty chill about the whole thing.
I mean, he finally did get clean.
He did. Yeah. Because I think some bands do regret how big they became.
Yeah, that could be. Mm-hmm. That could be. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these days, everyone's being forced into a simple life, whether they want it or not. Mm-hmm. And I guess the people who complain don't want it, obviously, because either they can't or refuse to adapt with what's going on now.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why you have people protesting.
Yeah.
Because it's tough to give up a lot of the things that we kind of have to give up now.
Yeah. On that downer.
But hey, there's going to be a cure. Everything's going to come back. Life's going to come back to normal.
If not a cure, at least a vaccine.
It's probably going to take a while, but we'll get back to
Oh, and
2019 days.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're an anti-vaxxer, please go away. We don't like you. Just going to come out and say it. All right, next song, Dancing in the Street. Now, before this, there were two versions I was familiar with. Is Martha and Vandellas the original?
That's the original.
Okay, so the original by Martha and the Vandellas, and then the duet cover in the 90s with David Bowie and Mick Jagger where they're just dancing around crazily.
80s.
Oh, that was the 80s?
They specifically recorded that for Live Aid to raise money.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was the 90s.
So that was 85.
Okay, my bad. The Live Aid where, what was it? Huey Lewis ended up being right. Yeah, the money's not going to go to the right people.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know what? My hat's off to you, sir. If you want more elaboration on that, watch the movie Poverty, Inc. Oh boy, that'll really make you depressed about the state of the world and global affairs. Anyway, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. So how does this cover stack up? Well, I think this one might take a while to grow on me, but I can appreciate it for what it is. I think Van Halen wanted to create their own version of this song that was specifically tailored for the kind of dancing their fans might do if they heard this at a concert. It also feels like everyone and their mother has covered this song, so maybe they just wanted theirs to stand out. However, and I know I'm going to sound real butthurt about this, I just missed those opening notes, the do-do-do-do-do, and they don't have it. And I'm like, if they kept those in this version, even with the different key, I'd probably like it a lot more. But since they don't, I still need some time to think about this, because I'm like, oh, I missed those notes. Those are fun.
Well, they kind of got their own version where it starts off with that synthesizer. I can't do it, but it's kind of like their take on it.
I know, but I just miss it. I miss it because that's always the fun part of the song where you're like, oh yeah, here we go.
Well, that's always been a horn part, and they're not a horn band. And like I said, I think that synthesizer is their recreation of that.
But couldn't they have found something at least similar to like a horn? Or sometimes on like certain keyboards, you can make it sound like different instruments. Like a trumpet, I know, is on there, but that might have been like later in the 2000s when those kind of keyboards came out. But I just missed that. I just missed that sound.
Well, Eddie said he put a lot of work into arranging and playing the synthesizer on this version.
Okay.
And he felt bad. He felt bad because some critics said, "Oh, it just sounds like the original. It's nothing new." With his thing was like, "No, we did it. We did it our way. We're trying to introduce this song to." A new generation.
Yeah.
And this is from Diver Down. It made it to number 38. Mm-hmm. And for me, this is way better than Bowie and Jagger's version.
Oh, okay.
To me, this is the best cover version of this song, period.
Oh, can I disagree on that? Because it was like, okay, I'm obviously biased because I'm a Bowie fan. All right, but it's just like, you can see that he and Mick are totally having fun with this. Like, the music video makes no logical sense. There's no roadmap with what they're doing in that musical video. But it's just the musical video in that music video. But it's just the two of them goofing off. And I feel like that captures the vibe of the original where it's like, they're just there having a good time and having fun. And it's like they're just two fanboys just singing along to this song. And I think that's what everybody wanted when the original came out. It's like, just sing to this song and have fun. Don't take it too seriously. Just party, party, party. And I'm still waiting for a day where everybody is dancing in the streets of this song, because I think that would be fun.
Well, I mean, I can admire why they did it because, yeah, they wanted to raise money. Obviously, neither of them performed at Live Aid, but they thought, okay,
No, they didn't.
We'll do something. But I think their version could have been a lot better because to me, it's just sloppy and the music's not that great. It's just perfunctory.
I don't see it as sloppy, though.
I think Van Halen's. I think it's more creative.
I don't think like the backup singers they hired, though.
I like Dave's yells in it. I mean, he's got those high yells in it, and I mean, great background vocal work. I think they did a phenomenal job. Like you said earlier, when they do cover versions, they do them right.
Yeah.
They put their own spin on it, and it's great. Now, the original by Martha and the Vandellas was selected as one of 50 songs to be preserved by the Library of Congress to the National Recording Registry back in 2006.
Makes sense.
So it's going to live forever.
Yeah, it always will.
That one, obviously, it's just always going to be the ultimate version, but this just comes damn close.
Last thing I want to say about the Bowie version is I love how when they're listing off the places, Des Moines, D.C. Now, when Jagger says, back in the USSR, because he had to throw that in there. And I'm yeah. That's just fun.
And also because I think that rhymes with no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Everybody Wants Some, 2 exclamation points. Now, when I read the title, I thought this was going to be a different song, and I'm wondering if you can maybe tell me what this is, because I first heard it in The Princess Diaries too. We all want a holiday. Let's take a little time for a getaway. We're having fun in the sun. Everybody wants some. Do you know what that one is? Because that's what I thought this was.
Say I've ever heard that. You'd probably have to check the music credits at the end of the movie.
All right, maybe that was a song that was popular in the 2000s. All right, so the first thing I wrote is, why is he obsessed with stockings? What is he, Steve from Coupling? And then I thought, nah, he's got too much of Patrick Swagger here. Okay, I think this might be my least favorite song so far if I had to name one, because it's just because it takes a while to get started. And for a song that talks about how everybody is jonesing for a good lay, it sure held back. And then again, maybe that's the point. Everybody's fighting the urge and they're doing their best to control it. And then while reading the lyrics, I had a cursed thought. Imagine Maury from Big Mouth quoting this or singing it, because this is basically his philosophy. And that is a version of this song I want to hear. Hey. Come on, Big Mouth, do your stuff.
Hey, everybody wants some.
Yeah.
I want some too. You know what I mean?
Now look at that cat clock and massage your dinger to it. Because that's what he says to Andrew in the first episode. And I feel like he would sing that before he says that to him. Just, please, Nick Kroll, make that happen somehow.
Oh my God, are we going to have to watch Big Mouth yet? I think we're going to have to watch it yet again.
Man, when's season 3 coming? Well, season 4? When's season 4 coming out? There's no release date yet, is there?
No, not yet.
I think they're going to have to wait a little bit since...
I don't know if that's going to be with the new Missy voice, because...
Probably, because Jenny Slate's leaving.
Or if that's going to be for 5th season. I thought they already had season 4 in the bag.
Yeah, but maybe they're going to want to re-record it. I have no idea. We'll find out.
I hope whoever they got sounds just like Missy. Because I heard the guy that they got for Cleveland sounds just like Cleveland for Family Guy.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to find someone who's similar. I mean, it's not going to sound 100% the same, but, Missy has a certain quality to her voice with, the breathless, prepubescent cracking in her voice, so...
Oh, and she's got the dork sound.
She does.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the song.
Okay, everybody wants some! Exclamation point, exclamation point. From Women and Children First. Everybody! And I've always kind of look at it as it doesn't matter what it is.
Everybody wants it.
They want some. I mean, when it comes to Dave, we know what he wants because of the... I like the way the line runs down the stockings and the high heels and no. Yeah. Okay, Dave, you're telling us just a little too much.
Go take a cold shower.
Yeah. Now the opening with the primal drums, whatever you want to call it, reminds me of David Johansen's cover of Stranded in the Jungle. Starts off the same way, and I'm kind of almost expecting those guys to jump in with their jungle noises. But with that part, when Alex is playing it, it's like, I like how the drums like bounce back and forth between the speakers.
Yeah.
And
That's always fun to hear, too, especially if you're listening to it on headphones.
Yeah. And like I said before, I like how some could be, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. It's, kind of like whatever you want.
Yeah.
I want some too.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end, Dave gets a case of potty mouth, where if you listen at the very end...
Oh, I didn't hear it. What'd he say?
I'll pay you for it. What the And then it just stops right before he can get to the you. Yeah. And the thing was like, I cranked it up really loud, and it's just like they cut it off.
You're just waiting for it, and you're waiting for it, and then it doesn't happen. You're like, oh man, I hurt my ears for nothing. All right, final track. Dance the Night Away, and my first note, Dave's being cute, smiley face. Now, all right, you might kill me for this. When I hear a guy talking about seeing a girl across a crowded room, the first song that comes to mind for me is Some Enchanted Evening from South Pacific. But hey, I might start thinking of this song too. You never know. Now, I have a theory. I think this song would be a good closer for a DJ to play at a wedding at like 2 o'clock in the morning when the party is almost over, but you want to end with a good musical bang. And the song is cute. I don't want to call it fluff, because I don't think Van Halen does fluff, but it's cheery and sweet. And hey, I think this was a good song to close our Van Halen episode on, because we fade out in a bunch of people dancing and having a good time, which I'm sure is what they just wanted their fans to do. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Now, this is from Van Halen 2, and it was their first top 20 hit at number 15.
Wow.
And I think it has great background vocals by Mike. Mm-hmm. And, call me naive, especially after what I read, what Dave said this song was about, but I find there's a sort of innocence to this song, where it's just this woman who loves dancing and barely a beginner, but she's dancing like no one's watching, maybe like Elaine did in Seinfeld.
Which, according to Jason Alexander, she had to train in order to dance that bad. Mm-hmm. Unlike, certain someone dancing at one of his rallies.
Yeah. And I think this is like their best feel-good song, if you want to call it that. And again, it was probably unexpected. We're like, wait a minute, this is a Van Halen song? This is like really like radio-friendly. And like I said, there's a feel of innocence, even though Dave said he wrote it about this woman who just finished having sex and was running out of the room and had her pants on backwards, and supposedly the police chased her into this club where the band was playing.
Oh God! Why? Why was she running? Was she like doing drugs or something?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, with Dave, there's always going to be some sort of like tall tale attached to it. Maybe I don't know
whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always kind of looked at it as like, it's just he's seen this woman in some club and she's just dancing like she's just feeling it. She's just like so into herself and into it that, just makes everyone feel good.
Yeah.
And there we have it. This is the David Lee Roth era as represented on The Best of Both Worlds. And for me, like, they've got those live songs. And again, I wish there was Ice Cream Man on it, or Could This Be Magic? And what the heck, I'd even throw in Knee Wise Magic, which is one of the new songs that Dave did on the 1996 Best Of. But you know what? I'm happy with this compilation overall. And, like I said, someday down the road, we'll cover the Sammy year.
We will. Just, it'll take a while.
Yeah.
All right. So
Closing thoughts, Jules.
Yeah, but I'll just say, we want to wait for when that's appropriate to do.
How do you mean appropriate? Like when Sammy kicks it, or?
No. Well, what I mean is, it's like, listen, I know very little about Van Halen. This is like my introduction to them. But what I do know is that people are like, Van Halen started to go downhill when Sammy came in. There's a whole debate where people are like, Dave was better, Sammy's better, Dave was better, Sammy's better. So what I wanted to do was cover an era of Van Halen that people can universally agree was good, just so we could do a good tribute to Eddie. And I didn't want to make anything too controversial by covering a singer that some people get really sensitive about. So I just wanted to do a good tribute that wouldn't generate any musical controversy anyway, and just, be as respectful as we could be.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with either era. Just like Dave a little more. I thought he was more versatile as a singer and with his subject matter. Mm-hmm. And again, I have Nothing against the Sammy stuff.
Yeah.
Catchy as anything. And I think, again, Greg and Produce brought this to my attention. He said that if you listen to classic radio, when it comes to the Dave stuff, a lot of the stuff that they'll play is either from their first album or from 1984. The stuff in between, not so much, but you listen to Sammy's stuff, and they'll play stuff from like every single album that he did with them.
That's interesting.
So he kind of looks at Sammy as like being more of a consistent hit maker. So there's also that too to consider.
But we'll cover that in our part 2 episode some point down the line. All right, so overall, Van Halen is awesome. I didn't like every single one of their songs because that's very rare for me, but I still like most of them. I can see why people would be upset about Dave leaving because the dude sounded like he was having too much fun. And hey, no one wants any type of fun to end. But I'm glad they went on after he left because this band cemented Dave's legacy long after he left the band. And most importantly, it cemented Eddie's legacy as a legendary guitarist. So, to Eddie, up in heaven, I'm really sorry I didn't get around to listening to your stuff until after you were gone. And I always feel bad when I like artists after they die because it's like, oh man, I wish I appreciated it while they were here. But thanks for the music and changing what it meant to be a guitar player by keeping everyone else on their toes. And I bet so many people tried to copy you and failed, which probably made you very happy. Because there's only one Eddie Van Halen, and his name is the one that they picked for the band. His surname, anyway. So, thanks, dude. I hope you're rocking out wherever you are.
Well, the other thing about Eddie was like he was always very generous with his time.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty nice.
To like other musicians.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. What was I going to say? I can't remember. Damn it, it was something else about Sammy versus Dave. They actually did a tour together, the Sam and Dave tour.
Really? How'd that go over?
Pretty well, I think.
Did they get along?
I imagine that they did, and they just covered they covered their own Van Halen era stuff.
Yeah.
They did get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007, but the only ones who showed up were Sammy and Mike.
Because Eddie was in rehab.
He was in rehab, and I guess Alex and Dave just didn't want to show up.
Yeah. All right, now I have one question for you before we wrap up the episode. If you could see Eddie guitar battle any guitarist, who would you want to see?
Oh, wow. First person I thought of was Brian May.
Okay.
But they did play stuff together.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know if they actually ended up putting out an album of this stuff, but I know that they did have they did play together.
Nice.
And recorded some stuff as far as I know.
Mine is, I don't think it would be a battle because I think it would just be them having fun on stage together. I would want to see Van Halen and Prince. I just want to see the two of them having fun together as two guitarists. Like, it would, in my mind, I think that would kind of be like when jazz musicians hear like one person do a solo and then they try to one-up it and make it like into something else. I just think that would be cool.
Oh yeah,
that would be fun.
Definitely. That definitely would have worked.
Yeah, and not to mention it would have made a crap ton of money.
Maybe they're doing it in the afterlife now.
Doing it in terms of playing music.
Yes. That's my daughter the perv, ladies and gentlemen.
And on that note, thank you as always for listening to another episode of My Dad Listens to This. We really hope we did Eddie and Van Halen and David Lee Roth's legacy justice in this episode. If you thought we did, please give us a like. And if you didn't like this episode, then I have nothing to say to you. All right, then if you have any specific thoughts you want to let us know in the comments, please comment down below. Please subscribe if you want to see some more content, or tap the bell if you want to be notified right away. And if you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, I post the episodes there. And if you're friends with my dad, he can email the episodes directly to your inbox and make you feel special because it's coming directly from us, the content creators. All right, thank you for listening to another episode of My Dad Listens to This. We'll be back next week with another album to nitpick and gripe about, or will it be an album? Because I have an idea that I want to run by Dad. So we'll see what the next episode will bring.
I'm scared.
Don't be. I have a good idea. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night. And rock on, Eddie. Thanks for the music. Bye.